I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jack?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, crazy. One time during my career, I was on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to BVO Sports TV. Salute BVO from the Sports Talk Network. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, highlights of boxing history. Highlights of boxing history. How's the family today? We're just going to cover a number of different subjects today. A couple we didn't get to yesterday. We got the 10 most unprofessional boxers in history. Most unprofessional boxers in history. And then, why is boxing the most corrupt sport? Because it's not arguable. It is the most corrupt sport. Why is boxing the most corrupt sport? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to start out with, will there ever be another two golden era? Like the 20s, Jack Dempsey, Gene Fullmer, Gene Tunney, not Gene Foreman. Foreman was in the 50s. Gene Tunney, Harry Greb, the Toy Bulldog, Mickey Walker, Georges Carpenter, arguably the greatest French fighter of all time, Louis Firpo, the wall bull of the Pampas. We had the 40s, 50s, Jake LaMotta, the Sugar Ray Robinson with those 6 fights they had. 50s, probably the greatest era ever for middleweights. Then Ali came along in the 60s. Look at the run he had in the 60s. Got suspended, came back in the 70s, picked up where he left off at. Then the 80s, the 4 Kings. And when you mention the 4 Kings, you got to mention Wilfred Benitez. If there was a 5th king in the deck, Benitez would be the 5th king. And Benitez fought all of them except for Hagler. Okay? Iron Mike Tyson came along in the 80s. Then in the 90s, we had another great decade for heavyweights. Lennox the Lion Lewis, Big Daddy, Riddick Bowe, the real deal, Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson came back out of prison and won another title. Was still a big draw in the 90s when he came back. Big George Foreman returned to the ring. And Big George won another title in the 90s. Didn't just come back, won another title. And he's got the record for years between title reigns, 20 years. He lost his title to Muhammad Ali in 1974 and won it back in 1994. And still to this day, the oldest man at heavyweight. Well, the oldest man in boxing. No, at heavyweight to win a title. And, Floyd, Manny, Oscar, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sweet Pea, Whitaker, Lights Out James Toney, B-Hop Roy Jones, all of them was in the 90s too. But will we ever have another golden era? Because now is not it. This is not a golden era. Now the 2000s was good. If you want to talk about another 4 kings, it was in the 2000s. Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez. They fought more times than the original 4 kings. The original 4 kings had 9 fights between them. The 4 kings of the 2000s had 13. And the only combination that didn't happen was Morales and Marquez. So we're going to talk about that. Will there ever be another true golden era in boxing? Because the era we are in is not it. Okay? It's not it. I know people that came up in this era that haven't seen another era thinks it is, and, biased toward this era. But, look at some other eras and compare it. This is not a golden era. Okay? All that today on Cast Sports the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. But first, we got to get our fight of the day in. Okay? So let's get to that so we can get the show started. We'll talk about a fight from the past. Could be a fight that happened yesterday, but it's a fight from the past. So without further ado, today's today's fight of the day is Michael Nunn versus James Toney. May 10th, 1991. The battle on the riverbank. And it was lights out turn to shock the world. Okay, let's get into it. Fight of the day. The Michael Nunn versus James Toney fight was contested at John O'Donnell Stadium in Davenport, Iowa for the IBF Middleweight Championship, in which challenger James Lights Out Toney, a significant underdog, stopped defending champion Michael second to none by technical knockout in the 11th round to claim his first world title. Nunn, an undefeated southpaw stylist and 20-1 favorite, entering his sixth title defense with a record of 36-0, was expected to dominate with his flashy combinations and movement, while Tony, ranked 5th by the IBF with a record of 25 wins, no losses, and 1 draw, relied on gritty pressure, body work, and counters, honed under trainer Bill Miller. Pre-fight tension escalated due to Tony's provocative trash talk, which reportedly angered Nunn and led to vows of punishment from the champion, setting the stage for a highly anticipated clash billed as Rumble on the Riverbank. And I billed it as Lights Out. It's Lights Out turning to shock the world. Technique in the building. What's up, Technique? It's going to look at a number of different things today, but first, the fight of the day is Michael Nunn versus James Toney from 1991, 25 years ago, May 10th. Okay, let's continue. And Tony was a 20-1 underdog coming into this one. Now, the 12-round scheduled fight saw Nunn control the early action with jabs and flurries, building leads on all judges' scorecards, 98-92, 97-93, and 99-91 after 10 rounds, while Tony absorbed punishment but methodically targeted the body and cut off the ring. From the 8th round on, Tony's relentless pressure exposed Nunn's fading energy, leading to momentum shifts with effective uppercuts and rights that wobbled the champion. In the decisive 11th round, referee Dennis Nelson halted the action at 2:14 after Nunn's corner threw the towel in, and after Tony dropped Nunn with a left hook, followed by a barrage of uppercuts and rights along the ropes, prompting a towel throw from Nunn's corner. This upset victory marked a breakthrough for Tony, propelling him to stardom in a middleweight division, seeking a new dominant force post Marvin Hagler. And it ended Nunn's unbeaten streak while highlighting Tony's tactical resilience and power punching. The event aired on HBO, drew significant attention for its dramatic turnaround, and remains noted as one of James Toney's signature performances early in his Hall of Fame career. Okay, let's look at the fighters' backgrounds coming into this one. Michael Nunn began his boxing journey in Iowa, where he compiled an impressive amateur record of 168 wins and 8 losses over a 176 fight amateur career, including 3 Iowa Golden Gloves titles. Now, although he fell short in the 1984 Olympic trials finals to eventual gold medalist Frank Tate, Nunn transitioned to the pro ranks in 1984 under manager Dan Goossen and the 10 Goose Boxing Club. By early 1991, Nunn maintained an undefeated pro record of 36-0 with 24 knockouts, showcasing his technical prowess as a tall, elusive middleweight who utilized superior footwork and jabs to control distance. His breakthrough came in June 1988 when he captured the IBF middleweight title with a 9th round knockout over champion Frank Tate in Las Vegas, a rematch of their amateur rivalry. Nunn defended the belt successfully multiple times, including a stunning first-round knockout of former WBA champion Sambu Kalambe in March 1989, a majority decision victory over Iran Barkley in August 1989, a unanimous decision over Merritt Marlin Starling in April 1990, and a 10th round knockout of Donald Curry in October 1990, solidifying his status as the dominant force in the middleweight division. Michael second to none. Okay, let's take a look at Lights Out now, coming into the fight. I'm on Lights Out. There he is. Hold me up, Lights Out. Okay. James Toney, hailing from Grand Rapids, Michigan, turned pro in 1988 after a brief amateur stint. Quickly established himself as a regional powerhouse in the Midwest. Under the guidance of veteran trainer Bill Miller, a former pro boxer himself from Detroit's Clark Gym era. Toney developed an aggressive yet slick defensive style, incorporating the shoulder roll technique to slip punches while countering with devastating hooks and uppercuts. By early 1991, Toney's record stood at 25-0 with one draw, with 18 by the knockout route, marked by dominant performances against local contenders in venues across Michigan, Illinois, and Tennessee, such as first-round stoppages of fighters like Philip Moorfield. And Toney won the Michigan State middleweight title in 1990 in that one, and Ron Edmondson. Despite his knockout power and undefeated streak, Toney's lack of national television exposure kept him as a relative unknown outside the Midwest circuit, entering the title fight with none as a 20-1 underdog. It had Lights Out, 20-1 underdog. Wow. Time that happened because he became known after this fight. Physically, the matchup highlighted stark contrast. None, at 6 feet 1 inch tall with a 78-inch reach, relied on his height and length to box from outside, while Toney, standing 5 feet 8 inches with a 72-inch reach, compensated with explosive hand speed, compact power, and relentless pressure to close distances aggressively. The IBF middleweight title, one of the division's premier belts, underscored the high stakes for both fighters, contrasting paths to contention. Yeah, Toney none had significant advantages. 5-inch height advantage and a 6-inch reach advantage over Lights Out. None did coming into this fight. And he was dominating too. He was utilizing those advantages to the maximum for a while. Mike Rim. What's up, Mike? How are you today? Michael Nunn, James Lights Out Toney. Salute Mike Rim. Yeah, again, Nunn had a 5-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage, and he was outboxing Toney thoroughly for a while. Now, the weigh-in for the IBF middleweight title fight took place on May 9th, 1991, with champion Michael Nunn coming in at 160 pounds on the dot, and challenger James Toney at 157, both comfortably within the 160-pound limit and without any reported issues making the weight. Toney's constant trash talking during the build-up to the fight had already heightened tensions, and at the weigh-in, Nunn's theatrics, placing a hand on Toney's chin, provoked a shove from Toney, nearly escalating into a brawl between their entourages before officials intervened. Yeah, he put a hand on Toney's chin. He lucky Toney didn't just straight punch him. Toney shoved him. He lucky Lights Out didn't just punch him. Put a hand on his chin. I'm surprised Lights Out didn't just straight punch him, but he did shove him. Now, Toney's intensity during the stare down visibly unnerved Nunn, who later admitted the challenger's glare left him on edge. The atmosphere surrounding the event was electric, centered at John O'Donnell Stadium, an outdoor minor league ballpark along the banks of the Mississippi River in Davenport, Iowa. Approximately 8,000 fans packed the venue, creating a charged environment that unexpectedly leaned pro Tony, despite Nunn's status as the undefeated local champion that was from the area. Yeah, Lights Out had the crowd, but Lights Out was from the Midwest too. So, yeah, he was from Michigan. Yeah, the crowd was for Lights Out. Tony himself credited the crowd's support for fueling his performance. The clear night with temperatures around 60 degrees provided ideal conditions for the open-air spectacle. Though the title fight height necessitated bolster security measures to manage the rally energy and prevent further entourage clashes. Ringside analysts and odds makers reinforced Tony's underdog narrative in final pre-fight predictions, installing Tony as a 20-1 long shot against the heavily favored Nunn, with many dismissing Tony's chances based on his unproven resume at the elite level. This sentiment amplified the tension, setting the stage for what promised to be a lopsided affair in Nunn's favor. That's what they thought, a lopsided affair in Nunn's favor. The fight was contested over a scheduled 12 rounds for the IBF middleweight title, with Dennis Nelson serving as referee. In the early rounds, 1 through 4, Nunn established dominance with superior reach and crisp jab, 6-inch reach advantage, using his jab to control the distance and land combinations while slipping Tony's advances. Tony absorbed some punishment, but countered sporadically with right hands. Though Nunn's defensive movement kept him ahead on all judges' scorecards, scoring 10-9 in each of the first 4 rounds for Nunn. Okay, your Nunn was doing very well, up 4-0 to start the fight. Come on, Lights Out, you gotta get going. During rounds 5 and 6, Nunn continues his control, landing right hooks that briefly wobbled Tony and prompting excitement from the crowd, while Nunn's trainer, Angelo Dundee, urged him to maintain boxing range rather than engage in exchanges with Tony. Tony's output remained limited, so he began noting Nunn's tiring in his corner, with judges still favoring Nunn 10-9 per round. Nunn won the first 6 rounds. By round 7, Tony increased pressure, landing a straight right hand that visibly affected Nunn and shifted momentum slightly shifting toward Lights Out. Though Nunn held around 10-9 on most cards, no knockdown occurred, but Tony's body shots started wearing on the champion. Nunn is up 7 rounds to 0. But Tony's body shots were starting to wear on the champion. Starting to wear on him. In rounds 8-9, Tony's persistent body work began to dull Nunn's speed as the challenger targeted the midsection while testing Nunn on the ropes and landing jolting right hands to the head. Nunn defended effectively enough to edge round 8, 10-9. Nunn is up 8 rounds to 0. But Tony captured round 9 on 2 cards through aggression, exploiting gaps in Nunn's defense, despite the champion's ongoing jab uses. So Tony won his first round in round 9, okay? And by that point, Lights Out needed a knockout, okay? 12-round fight, Michael Nunn up 8-1. Lights Out needed a knockout. It looked dismal for Lights Out. Round 10 saw further erosion of Nunn's reflexes from accumulated damage, allowing Tony to pick off punches and take control tactically, scoring 10-9 on one card while Nunn held slim leads on the others. At this point, unofficial scores showed Nunn ahead overall. 98-92, 97-93, and 99-91. That's how I had it. 99-91. Nunn was ahead 9 rounds to 1. Okay. I don't know what them other two judges was looking at. But anyway, it didn't matter. Didn't matter. The late rounds blocked Tony's rally with combinations to the head and body, forcing Nunn backward. Around 11, at 2 minutes 14 seconds, Tony unleashed a left hook that dropped Nunn for the first knockdown of the fight and the second of Nunn's career, prompting a count before Nunn got up at 9. Upon rising unsteadily, Nunn was immediately met with a right uppercut that spun him, followed by a right to the back of the neck, draping him over the ropes, and 2 more rights to the head that sent Nunn to his knees for the second knockdown. As Nunn struggled, a white towel entered from his corner, and referee Nelson waved off the fight for a TKO victory, with no controversy surrounding the stoppage, as Tony's aggression had clearly overwhelmed the fading champion. Yep. Lights Out needed a knockout and he got it. And Lights Out trainer Bill Nelson kept telling him between rounds, come on, man, you got to get going. But Lights Out told him, don't worry, man. He's not going to make it to 12. Don't worry. Calm down. Do what he was talking about. Like Michael Nunn didn't make it. Nope. Following the referee's stoppage at 2 minutes 14 seconds of the 11th round, James Toney celebrated his upset victory by raising his arms in the ring and later declaring at his post-fight interview, "What did I tell y'all 2 months ago?" He credited the supportive atmosphere, stating, "The crowd helped me win this fight. I had to keep the pressure on him because I knew I'd weigh him down at the end. I hurt him with left hooks in the 10th round. Now, Nunn was quicker than me, but he never hurt me." Tony also acknowledged his trainer Bill Miller's guidance during the fight, noting Miller's encouragement to maintain pressure despite trailing on all the scorecards. I had him down 9-2 when he went into the 9-1 when he went into the 11th round. Now Michael Nunn, appearing dazed and unsteady after rising from a knockdown at the count of 9, conceded the fight immediately, telling referee Dennis Nelson, "I'm all right," though he repeated it unconvincingly as he struggled to continue. In a subsequent interview with broadcaster Joe Goosen, his former trainer, Nunn admitted his error, saying, "I got sloppy. I dropped my hands and got caught. He really fought a good fight. He took some good shots. I'm going to take some time off and come back stronger." And Nunn did admit he got careless in the late rounds. And referee Dennis Nelson halted the contest to protect Nunn after a series of punishing blows after the towel came in from his corner. And those blows included a right to the chin and a left hook that drove Nunn into the ropes, forcing an earlier knockdown in the round. And a white towel thrown from Nunn's corner signaled the concession. And there was no protest from Nunn's team. The 10,000 fans in attendance, many supporting local hero Nunn, reacted with a collective moan and stunned silence upon the stoppage, creating a wild scene around the ring as the shocking upset sank in. Initial media coverage highlighted the surprise, with reports describing Tony's resilience and heart in overcoming the odds, while Nunn's camp expressed disbelief at the turn of events in what had been a dominant performance for much of the fight. Both fighters were cleared medically post-fight, though Nunn sustained cuts requiring stitches. There you have it, the fight of the day, won by James Lights Out Toney. All right. Yeah, We're going to cover a number of different things today. We're going to start out with, will there ever be another true golden era? A couple things from yesterday. 10 most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. Yeah, I had, when I was watching the fight, I had Tony won one round in the first 10. But boxing is the only sport like that, man. Down 9 rounds to 1 punch. Took the whole fight around. I think it was that left hook. I think that was the first one he caught him with that hurt him. And that was all she wrote after that. Mm-hmm. Names, Lights Out Tony. Okay, let's go to the will there ever be another true golden era in the sport of boxing? How's everybody this Thursday afternoon? We got some good action this weekend. It's Honor Barboza is on the main event. I forgot who he was fighting. But we got Gabriela Fundora, 2 title fights on the card. She defended her undefeated. Oscar Collazo. No, yeah, Honor Barboza is fighting. It came to me, I forgot again. The guy that lost to Duarte. Kenneth Sims. Honor Barboza and Kenneth Sims, right? And we got JoJo on the card too. JoJo and Alexis Rocha. That could be good. And promising young prospect Joe Iriarte. I'm high on Joe. He's on there. Get to see him this weekend. 9-0 with 7 knockouts so far. Welterweight. Joe at welterweight right now. Yeah. We get to see him this weekend. I got him in like the top prospect. One of them anyway. So, yeah. Iriarte. And that's Saturday. That's a pretty good card. Don't have no real big names on it. But that is a good, solid card. Good matchmaking for that one. Yeah, and that JoJo and Alexis Rocha could be the fight of the night. Mm-hmm. Don't miss that one. That could be the one. Don't miss Joe Iriarte, too. He's probably early in the card because he's still a prospect. There's 9 fights into his career, but I think he's going to turn into a superstar. Mm-hmm. But will there ever be another true golden era of boxing? Where'd y'all at? Let's talk about it. Now, boxing died on June 11th, 2005. The very night Mike Tyson retired from pro boxing. Now, the golden era of electrifying talent and entertainment in the sport, which spanned several decades and included numerous legendary fighters, was no more. Was no more. Then came the era of Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko brothers, which lacked excitement. Fights became chess games in which both fighters hugged multiple times with intermittent flurries of punches. Now, what could be said about the current boxing era? Of course, these fighters in the current era are more social media influencers than boxers. But let's revisit the peak of boxing excellence. We're going to get back to this era, but we don't want to talk about a bunch of social media stars first. Let's get to the peak of boxing excellence first. Now, boxing has gone through several golden eras. The early 20th century, to the dominance of fighters such as Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis, who were significant figures in the sport, not just in the ring. Their outside the ring presence made them superstars and made the sport stronger. Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis. Then in the 50s, fighters like Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis was still around, and Ezra Charles became household names and cultural icons. Then came the 60s, featuring the dancing boxer who killed his opponents with his mouth first. before the fight. Talking about the legendary Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali. Yeah, he killed him with his mouth first. Ali did. Predicting rounds. And a lot of times he got him out of there in that round. But a lot of writers didn't like him and called him, didn't like him because they said he could have got fighters out of there a lot sooner, but he carried them and kept them around and punished them more to get to the round he predicted. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't like Ali for that. But hey, the man wanted to hit his prediction. Can't blame him for that. If he said 7, I'd knock him out in 4. I'm gonna let him stay around until 7. Now, this era was the zenith of boxing excellence because of several factors. Majorly, is that a word? Majorly? Yeah. Majorly, the era featured some of the most iconic and consistent high-profile matchups in boxing history, including the Thriller in Manila, 1975, between Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier, which is often considered the greatest fight in boxing history. Thriller in Manila. Now, the shenanigans in Ali's mouth also contributed to the legend of the 70s, of that era. And in the 60s, his constant yapping even triggered Sonny Liston to fire a prop gun at Ali. Remember, Ali was outside his house in that van, and Liston came out there with a gun, but it wasn't a real pistol. It shot up into the air. Ali got out of Dodge then. He was out there on this microphone in this van. Come on outside, you big ugly bear. You big ugly bear. Come on, we're fighting now. Outside the man's house. Sonny came out there and fired a gun up in the air. It was really a blank gun, but Ali didn't know it. He got out of there. The epic battle between Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns came to an end in the 14th round when Leonard landed ferocious punches that forced the referee to stop the fight, awarding Leonard a dramatic TKO. Yeah, Hearns was ahead on all the cards at that point, too. Leonard needed a knockout. Yeah. Angelo Dundee, remember the famous phrase, "You're blowing it, son, you're blowing it." And Sugar Ray hurt Hearns in that 13th, and he saw how Hearns got up wobbly when the bell rang for the 14th, and Sugar Ray came out of the corner like he was shot out of a cannon, and he got Hearns out of there. Many people say that they stopped it too soon, though. With one more round to go and Hearns leading on all 3 cards, and especially in that era, they just didn't stop fights like that. But that was the All-American boy, gold medal winner, Sugar Ray Leonard. So yeah, they had a chance to give him the win. They're not going to pass it up, right? Had been the other way around, they wouldn't have stopped it. The parents would have had Sugar Ray like that. That's just a fact. But Sugar Ray was the All-American boy, right? Everybody loved him. Then Mike Tyson came on the scene in the 80s. And then he lost to Buster Douglas by 10th round knockout on February 11th, 1990, ending his 37-fight win streak. And Mike was iron. Mike didn't get him up out of there in 30 seconds, 91 seconds and stuff like that. And Buster came in there, and Buster didn't just beat him, he knocked him out. Buster knocked him out. And back in those eras, the fans never had to wait long before an iconic fight. Even the press conferences were massive events. Like when Mike Tyson threatened to put a reporter in a straitjacket. Even the press conferences. He bit Lennox Lewis on the leg and threatened to eat his children. Edwin Rosario told Julio Cesar Chavez he was going to send him home from their fight in a coffin. And then Chavez proceeded to beat the brakes off of him in the fight. Yep. Even the press conferences. Further, the golden era represented a pure form of boxing with a greater emphasis on the art and craft of the sport, from the stance to the footwork to the body positioning down to the different entertaining boxing styles in the golden eras, all of them, 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And the sport was less commercialized at that time, at those times, allowing for a more authentic and untainted expression of boxing. Now, the shady promoters are the only persistent pests in the sport, because they were still back around then too. The shady promoters. They the only constant that we've had throughout the sport. From Tex Rickard all the way up to now. To Eddie Hearns and all of them are Oscar. The shady promoters are one constant that the sport of boxing has always had. Now, the era of rich ballers. Now, several boxers in this modern era now have been outstanding across different weight divisions and have done well to keep the flag of the sport flying. Now, the informal parlance baller, however, is usually employed to refer to a person who spends lots of money and living the good life, the high life. In that sense, the current era of boxing is a league of rich ballers, high rollers, okay? What the current era is full of. You know, you come to the press conferences and weigh-ins, you got to have like 50 pounds of gold around your neck. $300 worth of clothes on. Yep, this is the era of the high rollers, the rich ballers, more so than boxers. In recent years, some boxers have garnered attention for their focus on exotic lifestyles outside of the ring. And with the rise of social media and increased visibility, many fighters prioritize showcasing their wealth and luxury possessions over boxing. And while this lifestyle can enhance their personal brand and attract sponsorships, emphasis on extravagance may overshadow the dedication and commitment to the craft that characterized boxers in previous eras, potentially impacting their performance and long-term legacy in the sport. Okay? And since the boxers in this era are more worried about securing their income source and records, they only take carefully selected fights for the most part. Now, which era of boxing was better? Which era of boxing was better? Now, choosing between eras is a subjective endeavor, but the perception that boxing in the current era is not as entertaining as the previous golden eras can be attributed to several factors. One significant issue in modern boxing is the fragmentation and increase of sanctioning bodies and championship belts, leading to confusion among fans and the weakening of the title landscape. That's the big one. Too many belts. And you have champions that wouldn't have gotten near a belt in other eras. May not even have been a boxer. Weakens the title landscape and leads to confusion who the champion is. Now, I go by the ring belt. Whoever got the ring belt in each division, that's my champion, okay? Because the ring belt don't have no sanctioning fees, okay? It's not political. Well, it didn't used to be, but now Oscar Turkey Alley Sheik got involved. But yeah, I still go by the ring belt right now for the time being. Now, with multiple champions in each weight class, it can be challenging to determine the true undisputed champion, which diminishes the significance of individual title fights and undermines the overall entertainment value of the sport. With multiple champions in each weight class, it can be challenging to determine the true undisputed champion, which diminishes the significance of individual title fights and undermines the overall entertainment value of the sport. Another striking factor is the lack of consistent mega fights. Now, while there have been numerous notable matchups in recent years in this era, but the current era of boxing has not consistently produced the same level of mega fights and rivalries as the previous golden era. Okay, this hasn't. Those are facts. Oh my goodness. Okay. It just hasn't. Too many belts. The sanctioning bodies are corrupt. They just worried about their bottom line. They want the fighters that bring in the most money to head the belts. Look at Canelo. David Benavidez was his mandatory for what, like 2 years or something? Anybody else would have been stripped. But Canelo makes too much money to strip. Who else you going to get when you charge sanctioning fees, that kind of pay? So yeah, stay the champion as long as he wants to. Tell Bud went up there and beat him. David Benavidez could have been his mandatory for like 10 years. He still wouldn't have stripped him. Okay, let's continue. I found my way back to where I was supposed to be at. Now, yeah, another striking factor is the lack of consistent mega fights. Yeah, while there, like I said, been some notable mega fights in this era, it has not consistently produced the same level of mega fights and rivalries as previous golden eras had. That's why they called golden eras. Fighters like Mike Tyson fought several fights in a year, many times more than the number of fights 3 heavyweight boxers in this era have in a year. In recent times, heavyweight champions go an entire year with just one fight. Some go years with no fights, 2 years with no fights. Back in the golden eras, a fighter don't fight in 2 years. That means he got a serious injury or he's retired. If he's active, nobody was going to take 2 years off, man. Come on. Al Booger in the building. What's up, Al Booger? We're just talking about will there ever be another true golden era? Because we're not in one right now. Okay, let's salute. We got a few different things today. Okay. So yeah. You got fighters go now a whole year without fighting, 2 years without fighting. Not injured or anything. Just trying to carefully tiptoe around certain fights and get the right one in there that they know they can probably win. Furthermore, the current era of boxing has arguably seen a decline in technical skill and artistry compared to the previous golden eras. With the rise of MMA and other combat sports, there may be a shift towards a more complete style of fighting, which can lead to less strategic and nuanced performances in the ring. Overall, while there are still many talented boxers in this era and exciting matchup in the current era of boxing, these factors contribute to the perception that it may not be as consistently entertaining as previous eras. But opinions on the entertainment value of boxing are subjective and can vary depending on individual preferences and perspectives. Because some people, young people, have never seen another era, right? They don't know what they're missing, and they don't know what to compare this era to. So it's very subjective when you're talking about different eras. But will there ever be another golden era of boxing? We can only hope. Okay. Now, why is boxing the most corrupt sport? Because it's not even arguable. It is. Why is that? Oh, let me put my picture up. Oh, no, that's not it. Okay, is that Nate's? No. Nate's is the 10 most unprofessional boxers. Yeah, we was gonna do this yesterday. Yeah, the 10 most unprofessional boxers in boxing history now. Then we're gonna talk about why is boxing the most corrupt sport, because it definitely is, and that's not even arguable. Boxing is by far the most corrupt sport. And we're gonna talk about that in a little while. But let's talk about 10 of the most unprofessional boxers in boxing history there. Yep. Most unprofessional. Yeah, but how's everybody this Thursday afternoon? Again, got that great card this weekend. They got Gabriela Fedora on it, defending her undisputed at flyweight, and Oscar Collazo defending his title. The main event is Arnold Barboza and Kenneth Sims. I think they both coming off losses too. And I think, yeah, but the fight to watch is JoJo and Alexis Rocha. That's a good matchup. I think that might be good. JoJo showed he was still dangerous in his performance against Regis, remember? And one of the top prospects in the game in action this weekend, Joe Ariarte, 9-0 with 7 knockouts. Good little early knockout ratio for Joe. Yeah, I'm high on him. I ain't gonna miss that in action this weekend. Welterweight division. So yeah, welterweight is give it a year, so it's gonna be hot when Joe will get up there in the mix. Guys, Ryan, Devin, all of them, they might duck Joe. Good skillful boxer with power. Yep. 9 fights, 7 knockouts. And it's this weekend, okay? Yeah, let's look at these 10 most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. Salute Mike Mazik in the building. How are you today, Mike? Looking at a number of different things today. Now 10 most unprofessional boxers. Unprofessional boxers in boxing history. I always had trouble with P words. I gotta say them slow. Unprofessional. 10 most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. I say it fast, I always drop the R, the unprofessional. Unprofessional boxers in boxing history. I know y'all have noticed that. Okay. Now, perhaps more than any other, the sport of boxing is based upon respect. Even when two fighters have a deeply personal rivalry, once they have done exchanging blows in a squared circle, a truce is often reached, right? No matter how much bad blood there is in the build-up to a contest, ultimately, most fighters conduct themselves with professionalism before, during, and after a fight, even paying tribute to the opposition following a fight. Look at David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. Them dudes were like they hated each other guts before that fight. Remember the press conferences and the weigh-ins and everything? David kept calling Caleb the P word, and Caleb kept dropping F-bombs on David all through. But after the fight, they embraced and shook hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, select few warriors, though, have famously struggled to keep it professional down the years. From poor treatment of officials and journalists to antisocial behavior and even outright cheating, a number of fighters have done major damage to their reputations through some of their choices. So now we're going to look at 10 of them. 10 of the most unprofessional fighters in boxing history right now. Okay. First one. There's the first one right there. Here's the first one right. Mm-hmm. Money Mayweather is undoubtedly one of the finest boxers ever to grace the ring. But he was far from the most professional. Known for his outbursts against officials and members of the press, Floyd wasn't shy about letting people know that he wasn't happy with them, even if they were simply doing their job at the time, right? Floyd ruthlessly took out Victor Ortiz while the latter was attempting to touch gloves with him during their September 2011 fight. Afterwards, he took a swipe at HBO boxing announcer Larry Merchant, telling Merchant, "You don't know shit about boxing," during an ill-tempered post-fight interview. Remember, Larry fired back, "If I was 50 years younger, I'd kick your ass, Floyd." Mm-hmm. And if Larry was 50 years younger, I think he would have tried. Right there. I think he would have tried. Now, Floyd called time on his pro career after defeating Conor McGregor in August 2017. Okay, and since that time, he has boxed in various exhibition fights around the globe, and even they haven't been without incident. In August 2024, Floyd actually fired the referee for one of these contests midway through the fight. Okay? Okay, next one. 10 of the most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. There's the next one. Come on. King Rye. Ryan Garcia. The build up to Garcia's most recent, the fight before last, before rolling, with Devin Haney, a couple of fights ago. But the build up to the Devin Haney fight was marred by questions over his suitability to compete. King Rye caused a stir with a number of posts on social media, which led to concerns over his mental well-being. That he turned up to the weigh-in seemingly drinking a beer didn't help those concerns at all. The California native then proceeded to miss weight for the fight. Remember? Many assumed that the fight itself would be an easy night's work for Devin, but they were soon proven wrong, as King Rye produced a dominant performance that almost seemed too good to be true. And as it turned out, it was. As Ryan later failed the drug test for performance-enhancing drugs. We saw his win over Devin overturned and earned him a 1-year ban from the sport. Yep, his win over Devin seemed almost too good to be true, and it turned out it was. King Rye. Okay, the next one, 10 most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. Ricardo Mayorga, he was terrible, man. Ricardo was terrible. Ricardo Mayorga. His press conferences was better than the fight. Yeah, Technique says Ryan didn't take a lot of fights seriously. Yeah, remember Ricardo Mayorga Technique? He was terrible, man. He would curse out everybody up on the stage during his press conference. Ricardo. Now, Ricardo Mayorga was undoubtedly an elite talent, winning 3 world titles across 2 weight classes. Yeah, the guy was talented, but he lacked any of the usual discipline you might associate with a top-level boxer. The Nicaraguan fighter made no secret of the fact that he drank during training camp and even once lit up a cigarette at a pre-fight press conference before facing Shane Mosley. Unsurprisingly, given the lifestyle choices, he frequently missed weight for fights. Ricardo was also renowned for physically provoking his opponents and their entourages outside the ring. Yeah, Ricardo. He was terrible. And we called Oscar gay. Talked about his wife and everything. Oscar got in there and beat the brakes off of him, though, when the fight started. Next, AB. Adrian Broner, the problem. I remember one time his trainer told AB when he came after the Madonna fight, it was another fight, his trainer said, AB, the only problem is you won't let your hands go. That's the problem. Adrian the Problem Broner, most unprofessional boxer of all time. Now, AB is nicknamed the Problem, and it's a moniker that sums up the issues he has had during his time in the sport. The American fighter has been known to spoil fights with excessive clinching and has become synonymous with highly personal trash talk during his fights. That charge can also be levied at Broner for his behavior during press conferences and post-fight interviews, okay? Where broadcasters have frequently had concerns over his language and conduct. His name value has frequently seen him land opportunities in spite of his reputation. But he has become increasingly unreliable as his career has progressed, missing weight for fights on a number of occasions, namely on a regular basis. Missing weight, AB. Most unprofessional fighters. The Prince. Prince Nassim Ahmed. Prince Nassim. In his prime, Prince Nassim's fight were an occasion not to be missed. His flashy style, combined with a unique charisma, made him a huge box office attraction. But the 3-time former world featherweight champion had a fair share of reliability issues as his career wore on. Frequently late to press conference weigh-ins and even fights, he reportedly began to take his training less seriously as he became successful. This apparent lack of dedication was ruthlessly exposed when he suffered his first and only career defeat to Marco Antonio Barrera in April 2001. Yeah, Barrera embarrassed him. It took 13 months until he returned to the ring with a highly disappointing performance in a win against Manuel Calvo. The Prince looked out of shape and uninterested as he labored to a decision victory amid a chorus of boos from the fans, and he never fought again after that. That was his last fight. Now, Jake is on here just because of one fight, the fight he admittedly threw, Jake LaMotta. Yeah, one fight. But he was trying to get a title shot. Jake was getting up in age, and he was thinking he might not never get a title shot because he kept turning down the mob advances. So he finally just took it. He threw a fight to get a title shot. not only through the fight, they had to pay him $20,000 too. And throw the fight. Wow, that's crazy. You're throwing the fight, plus you got to pay him $20,000. Wow. Now, Jake LaMotta's decision to deliberately lose his 1947 fight against Billy Fox marks one of the most infamous fixes in boxing history. It was even chronicled in the 1980 film Raging Bull about Jake's life and career. Now, the mob wanted Jake to lose to less skilled fighter Fox for betting reasons. They put a lot of money on Fox, and then they wanted Jake to lose, get a big return on their bet. In return for Jake taking a dive, the mob promised him a world title shot, which they eventually delivered. Fans and media were immediately suspicious of the fight at the time, openly questioning Jake's lack of effort in his loss to Fox. Now, Jake's willingness to agree to a fourth-round defeat undermined fans' confidence in the sport for years after that. And Jake finally admitted it in front of Congress when they were investigating the mob that he threw that fight deliberately. Yeah. Most unprofessional boxer, Shane Mosley, took a shame. Now, one of a select few fighters who readily admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs, 8-time world champion Mosley, not 8 division, 8-time. 8-time world champion Shane Mosley took the banned substance THG, as well as his testosterone banned ointment before his 2003 fight with Oscar De La Hoya. Mosley won a unanimous decision on the night, which still stands as a victory on his record to this day. But he later confessed under oath that he had cheated by using some substances that were provided to him by Balco, a controversial agency that were revealed to be providing performance-enhancing drugs to athletes across multiple sports. Yet Shane was mixed up with Balco. And we talked about this guy yesterday, Antonio Margarito. You got to one about all of his fights, Margarito. Booger says, give new meaning to the nickname Sugar. Yeah, that's right, Al Booger. Okay, Antonio Margarito. Yeah, he was sleazeball, man. They caught him just before the Sugar Shane fight. They go out there and cheat again. And the way Miguel Cotto's face looked after he fought Antonio is never proven that he had something in his hand, Ralph, but very suspicious. And who knows how many other fights? You know, once you get caught, who knows? Was all his fights like that? You can't say. But Miguel had the rematch and beat him, and he said that was the most satisfying win of his career when he beat Margarito in the rematch. Got his get back from the man that cheated him. You know, boxing is dangerous enough, man. People have died just with the regular legal gloves from punches. And then you're going to be taking padding out and adding plaster of Paris that turns into cement inside the gloves to it. That's just plain. That's a lifetime ban immediately. Although Antonio was able to come back, but if I was in charge, you would be gone forever. You know, once you do that. It ain't like a low blow or something. You putting cement in your gloves, man. That's the ultimate cheat. You could kill somebody in there just with the regulation glove. And then you're adding cement to it? Come on, man. No. But he was able to come back. 6 years after the De La Hoya fight, Mosley found himself on the opposite end of a cheating scandal, as former world champion Antonio Margarito was found to have loaded his gloves with a plaster of Paris-type substance, which hardens when it dries and could be lethal to opponents. This was before his January 2009 showdown with Sugar Shane Margarito. Yeah, it hardens when mixed with water, and what they do, they know your hands going to start sweating as the fight goes on in them gloves, and that's what hardens the plaster of Paris up in the gloves. And as you get into the fight, now you got that cement in your gloves, hitting somebody with it, man. Mm-hmm. The irregularity was discovered when Mosley's trainer, Nassim Richardson, noticed something unusual about the wrapping on the Mexican's hands. He quickly reported his suspicions, and after inspection, officials found a white, pasty substance on Margarito's wraps, which was then tested and found to be illegal. Although Margarito would go on to have his hands wrapped with no additional substance on them, and then he went out there and Mosley stopped him. And Mosley still said after that, he still felt like something hard was in his gloves. Mm-hmm. After that, Mike Tyson makes it. Yeah, Mike makes the most for taking a chunk out of Evander Holyfield's ear. That was one of the most infamous moments in boxing history. And he did it twice, remember? He did it the first time when he actually bit the chunk out. And the ring doctor said Holyfield could continue, and his corner told the referee, yeah, we want to continue. And then Mike went out there and did it again. And that's when he disqualified him. But like Mike Rim said yesterday, Holyfield was headbutting him, man. Bad. In both fights. Mike got tired of it. And finally, Louis Resto. We went in deep on this one yesterday, remember? He was the worst of them. He's number one on the most cheating, unprofessional, sleazeball, crudball, whatever. Him and Panama Lewis. And the boxer eventually died because of it. He was in a car accident, single car accident, but his father, everybody suspected it was suicide because of the way he was acting before it happened. He started drinking, started beating his wife. His wife left him, all because this sleazeball put, same thing, plaster of Paris, and he took cushion out and put plaster of Paris on his hand wraps and took cushion out of the glove, all of that. Like he was trying to kill the guy. And he did go to prison, him and Panama Lewis. Panama Lewis passed away a few years back, but he's still living. Then when he got out of prison, like 20 years after the fight, because he lost his boxing license for life, he came back and applied for his boxing license back, and the commissioners was like, hell no. Didn't you read the paper? Thing said lifetime ban. You don't get no license back for what you did. And rightfully, they denied him. He wanted to turn into a trainer. How we know you ain't gonna put plaster of Paris in some of the guys you train gloves? So they said no. Look at what we gave you again. It says lifetime. So they said no. Then he went to the guy's family. While he was in prison, the guy had died in the car accident or killed himself. They called it an accident, but his family suspected it was suicide. He gonna go to the man's wife and daughter to ask for forgiveness. And they was like, no. The woman like, I lost my husband. My daughter lost her father. We can't forgive you. I'm sorry. Maybe God will forgive you, but we can't. I'm sorry. So yeah, he didn't deserve to be forgiven, man. Like again, in a sport where you can be killed with the regulation gloves, with no cheating, fighters have died. And you in there putting cement in your gloves and taking cushion out? No, ain't no forgiveness for that. You deserve lifetime bans. I don't know why Margarito didn't get a lifetime ban. He only got a year. That should be automatic lifetime for doing that. Man. That's just straight dirty. That's just straight nasty work there. You know, altering the gloves is one of the most dangerous sports of all. People have died, man, with legitimate equipment. So yeah. Yeah, they when he came and tried to reapply, they denied him, rightfully. Okay. Now, why is boxing the most corrupt sport? And it is not even arguable. Boxing is definitely the most corrupt sport there is. They don't have no kind of nothing over the sport governing it or anything. It governs itself. You got 4 sanctioning bodies, all these different promoters. Every state got different rules. You know, a substance might be banned in this state, but you can use it in that state. If it's an illegal ban, dangerous substance here, why shouldn't it be illegally and dangerous and banned there? So yeah, boxing is the most corrupt sport. Let's talk about why though. Why is boxing the most corrupt sport? It's not even arguable. No other sport is even close to being as corrupt as boxing. But we love it. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, now I gotta put this picture when I ask this question. Let me start over. Why is boxing the most corrupt sport? There's one of the reasons right there. Mauricio Sulaiman. One of the big reasons. Okay. It is Mauricio. Why is boxing the most corrupt sport? Glad y'all asked. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that for a while. Okay. Yeah, we got something on Katie Taylor too, because she said this is going to be her last year, 2026. Now, I don't know how many fights she's going to fight this year, but she said she wanted her final one to be in Ireland, her home place called, I forgot the name of something Park, Ireland. But she hasn't said anything about an opponent or anything like that. But she said, yeah, 2026 is it. We're going to talk about that too. I wouldn't mind seeing Taylor Serrano 4 as a final fight. Of course, if Serrano wins, it might not be her final fight. Now, calling boxing the most corrupt sport reflects a mix of historical patterns, structural vulnerabilities, and high financial incentives that together create fertile ground for corruption. Create fertile ground. Now, the claim can be substantiated by examining recurring problems, institutional weaknesses, and concrete examples that differentiate boxing from many other sports. Now, the structural and institutional weaknesses. Let's talk about that first. Structural and institutional weaknesses. Fragmented governance. Multiple sanctioning bodies. WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. Y'all know them. Plus dozens of regional organizations. Like I was talking about, the state commissions with competing rankings, belts, and rules. No single universally respected governing authority to enforce consistent standards. That's what I was just saying. No single universally respected governing authority to enforce consistent standards. That would do it right there. That one thing would solve the whole problem. Just like have not like one person, a commissioner's office, where he got different people to cover different aspects of the sport. Let's have an entire commissioner's office, you know, like every other sport guy, right? A commissioner that runs it, but he got other people that work for him. and keep track of what's going on in boxing. You know, like when Mauricio, like when Ryan Garcia just gets a title fight coming off a loss, the commissioner's office would step in and be like, no, he don't deserve no title fight. He just got knocked out. I mean, well, he lost a decision in Rolly. How's he in a title fight this next fight? No. They would stop that, okay? Nonsense like that wouldn't happen with a commissioner's office. Promoters and networks. Promoters, managers, and television networks control matchmaking, career trajectories, and purse distribution. Conflicts of interest are common when the same entities promote fighters, control events, and negotiate broadcasts. The same people doing all this stuff. Come on now. You know they're going to be corrupt. That's inviting corruption. Decentralized officiating. Referees and judges are licensed and appointed locally or by multiple organizations, producing inconsistent standards and opportunities for influence. That's the biggest one in that, opportunities for influence, right? With the commissioner's office, guess who's going to appoint the referees? The commissioner's office, not the promoters or the sanctioning bodies or the boxing commissions, because they're gonna the other, if it's in front of the commissioner's office, these other organizations gonna appoint referees that they can influence. Like the Maxi Priest George Kambosos fight. Everybody know Maxi Priest won that fight. But the Bob father wanted Kambosos and Lomachenko, so he made sure he could get judges and a referee that was going to make sure Kambosos won. But with the commissioner's office, that wouldn't happen. They appoint the referee. They can't be influenced by the Bob father. Cash heavy, low transparency transactions, purses, side deals, sponsorships, and expenses are often negotiated privately. Limited public accounting makes bribery, payoffs, or hidden agreements easier to hide. We're just talking about why boxing is the most corrupt sport right now. And it's not even arguable. It clearly is. And incentives that encourage corruption. Huge asymmetry in rewards. Championship status, pay-per-view revenue, and endorsement deals create massive financial incentives for particular outcomes, winning title eligibility, particular outcomes. They go back to, you're going to appoint judges and referees that ensure you get that particular outcome. You need a commissioner's office to appoint these people. They don't have nothing in the game. They're not getting anything out of who win or lose. Okay, not the promoters or the sanctioning body or whoever, state commissions. Need a commissioner's office. Short career spans and vulnerability of fighters. Boxers often depend on a small number of big fights for lifetime earnings, making them susceptible to coercion, career manipulation, or accepting unfair compromises. Gambling pressure, high stakes betting markets, legal and illegal, create incentives for match fixing and judge bribery. And we know these judges can be bribed. We know that. Again, my example is always Maxie Hughes and George Kambosos. Kambosos won about 2 rounds, but he got his hand raised. Celebrity and politics. National pride and promotional narratives can bias selection of opponents. fight locations, and officiating assignments. Now, some common forms of corruption takes in boxing. Questionable judging and stoppages. Contested decisions, wide discrepancies on scorecards, and stoppages by referees perceived as premature or lenient. Those are some of the ways they cheat, right? Judges, scorecards, stoppages by referees, premature or lenient. I think the referees and judges should have a post-fight press conference too, to explain their scores or decisions the referee made during the fight. Like, how come you didn't call that a knockdown when his knee clearly touched or his hand clearly touched? Anything but that foot touch doesn't matter. It's supposed to be a knockdown, right? Yeah, I always thought judges and referees should have a press conference too. Now, you safely escort them in and out of it. You know, don't let nobody hurt them or anything, but they should have to answer for their decisions. But they just make their decisions. The referee ref the fight, the judges do their scorecards and just go on about their business, right? Fight fixing and backroom deals. Negotiated outcomes, forfeit arrangements, or intentional using of replacement opponents to manipulate records. These are some of the ways that common forms of corruption takes place in boxing. Promoter collusion and monopolies. Promoters blocking fights, guaranteeing champions avoid dangerous challengers, or arranging favorable terms and officials for fights. Okay? Bribery and influence peddling. Paying officials, arranging favorable appointments, or applying political pressure on commissions. Doping, laundering, and medical oversight failures. Inconsistent testing regimes, delayed or suppressed results, and inadequate enforcement. Now, illustrative examples. These are typical, well-documented patterns of corruption. High-profile controversial decisions where consensus among commentators, statisticians, and neutral observers strongly contradicts official scorecards. Okay? Promoters or networks leveraging exclusive rights to avoid mandating unification fights, thereby preserving multiple champions and maximizing revenue. Yeah, keeping the belt spread out. Everybody, we all know that's done purposely. Look at some divisions. You had 44 different belts in 4 different hands for years. That's done purposely to maximize the revenue. Regional commissions with weak enforcement, allowing fighters to compete with lingering medical risks or with unreported test results. Look at the guy presented with Virgil a couple of years ago. He had a brain aneurysm. What is he doing fighting? And Tony Weeks said, that ain't gonna be on me. Virgil just tapped the guy one time. Tony Weeks jumped in, that's it, and stopped it. Because Tony knew they had this guy in there that had a brain aneurysm, and Tony said, this guy get hit and die, it ain't gonna be on me. Tony stopped that thing fast. I was like, damn, Tony, did Virgil hit him? But yeah, Oscar them had the guy in there that had a brain aneurysm. What in the world is he doing in a boxing ring? But that's part of the problem. That's a huge part of the problem, right? Yeah, Al Booger. one of the worst to ever do it. That's why I got him up there. We talked about why is boxing the most corrupt sport. That's the perfect picture to have up there, right there. Mauricio. Don't even hide it. Remember, Sean was interviewing him. We was on Just Do, and Sean said, well, how did Conor Benn, how about Conor Benn getting a title shot at welterweight or getting considered for a title shot at welterweight or something? Mauricio started talking about why they just fought Eubank at middleweight. What they got to do with welterweight? He was really saying, I do what I want to do. He's just started talking about something different. Did he answer the question? Mm-hmm. Now, why is boxing more vulnerable than other sports? That's a one-on-one sport with subjective scoring. A single referee stoppage or 3 judges' scorecards determine outcomes, unlike team sports with objective statistics. Subjectivity is higher in boxing, right? Like a football game, whoever scored the most points on the scoreboard when the fourth quarter ends wins the game. But boxing, you might have had the better fight and scored the more punches, but depending on them judges, you very subjective. So, huge reason why boxing is more biased and corrupt. Baseball, basketball, you're watching the scores, the game go on. You know, baseball, you don't just play 9 innings and then at the 9th inning they put the score up 4-0. You done seen all 4 of those runs get scored during the game. But boxing, you watch the whole fight, then at the end they put the score up. No. Show us the score during the fight. Only sport like that. Basketball, you sit there and watch every point on the scoreboard go up. Boxing is the only sport. All during the fight, you don't know what the hell the score is until the end. And then you can say, well, that's not what I saw. But the only sport like that. Subjectivity is higher. It's one of the main reasons why boxing is more vulnerable to corruption than other sports. One of the main ones. They need to start showing them scores round by round. Why can't they do that? I mean, the judges turn them in after every round. Why they gotta hide them till the end of the fight? Because round 7, they're afraid of losing. Somebody got them cards changing them, right? Not what the judges originally turned in. We know it's not. Fewer institutional checks. No global governing body with teeth comparable to something like FIFA or the NFL, or even IOC-led structures in Olympic sports. Olympic sports are better governed than pro boxing. And cultural tolerance and opacity. Boxing's long history of shadowy dealings has normalized informal practices and excuses for anomalies. Yeah, they done got us used to it. We so used to watching one guy dominate a fight and then the other guy get his hand raised. It's like normalized. We like, oh, well, that's boxing. It shouldn't be like that. Just, oh, well, that's boxing. They done got us used to the corruption. That's crazy. You know, we say that. Oh, that's how boxing is, follow the money. He should have won, but he didn't. Oh, well. They done normalized it. The corruption is crazy. Now, here's some practical reforms that could reduce corruption. There's some things they could do to reduce it. Very simple. Centralized independent oversight. Create or empower a single independent international commission to standardize rules, rankings, and discipline. They don't want that because they see every other sport got it. It could be very simple. Just have a commissioner's office. It's not one person, it's the entire office. overseeing the sport. You got a commissioner running the office, and he got people looking at different aspects of the sport, like any other sport has. Boxing is the only sport like this. That's how they want it. Another one where they could curb corruption. Transparent promoter and purse reporting. Mandate public disclosure of contracts, purses, rematches, and side deals. Okay? Yeah, that is 100% Al Booger. They keep it private for corruption purposes. Yes. Only sport like that, man, where you find out the score at the end of the game. How the hell you find out the score at the end of the game? What if football was like that? You'd have seen the team score five touchdowns, and then at the end of the game, they put the score up 7-0. That's how boxing is. Think about it. You see this man win 8 out of 12 rounds, and then they put the score up, he done won 2 rounds. Like baseball. You see a man hit 5 home runs, so you know they got 5 runs, but we don't see the score until the 9th inning, they put up 2-0. But they got us so normalized the boxing, we don't even worry about it anymore. We just say, oh, that's boxing, follow the money. Only sport like that, Al Booger. See the score at the end. And it's a lot of times, too many times, it's not what you watched during the fight. And the announcers in on it too, because you can clearly see them. One round, one guy scored 30 punches. The other one scored 2. Then they show the highlights. They show the 2 punches their guy landed. Don't say nothing about the 30 the other guy landed. Like, but he landed 30. They're going to show the highlights and show the 2 this one certain fighter landed. Boxing is crazy, man. But anyway, yeah. Okay, we're looking at some ways that they can get rid of corruption. Independent judge, referee assignment, and performance review. Use neutral pools, rotation, computerized score auditing, and regular competency assessments. And have a press conference for the referees and judges after the fight, so they can explain their calls and stuff, or how they got to the score on the scorecards. The press can ask them, well, like I said, so-and-so scored 30 punches in 7th round, and fighter A scored 30 in the 7th round, fighter B scored 2. How did you get around to fighter B? They need to be asked that after the fight. But they don't, so they do it. Now, if they knew they was going to be asked about it, they wouldn't do it because they couldn't explain it, right? They wouldn't be able to explain it away, so they wouldn't do it. Unified anti-doping and medical registry. Single testing authority. Rapid public reporting of results, and a central medical database for suspensions and clearances. These are some ways to cure corruption. Betting transparency and integrity units. Real-time monitoring of suspicious betting patterns with cross-jurisdictional cooperation. Right. Yeah. Because, you know, each of these jurisdictions, like these state commissions, they got their all different rules. Cross-jurisdictional cooperation should all be uniform. Again, any other sport, no matter where you play an NFL football game at, Maryland or Germany, the same rules. A first down is 10 yards. You get 4 downs to get that first down. A touchdown is 6 points. You kick the extra point, you get 1. You run or pass it, then you get 2. It don't matter where you play it. But boxing, depending on where the fight is at, the rules are different. The rules are different. From jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And financial protections for fighters. Escrowed purses, pension, savings schemes, and regulatory oversight of manager-promoter contracts to reduce coercion. Yeah, I think Terrence Crawford is working on that right now, trying to get pensions for fighters. I was reading something about that the other day. Yeah. Conclusion. Boxing combines high financial stakes, fragmented authority, subjective outcomes, and entrenched commercial interests. A configuration that repeatedly produces corruption and a perception of corruption. Just the perception of corruption is bad enough, right? And if you got a perception of corruption, you got corruption. The sports problems are structural rather than merely anecdotal. Addressing them requires sustained institutional reform, independent oversight, transparency of finances and appointments, stronger anti-doping and betting integrity mechanisms, and improved protections for fighters. Absent those reforms, boxing will remain unusually exposed to corrupt practices compared with many team and Olympic-style sports. And in boxing, exactly how the powers that be want it, right? It's exactly how the powers that be want it, okay? They want to be corrupt. They was talking about in the 60s, well, first 30s, 40s, 50s, how the mafia ran boxing. And then they claimed in the 60s, they got the mafia out of it. And as corrupt as it is now with these sanctioning bodies, promoters, state commissions, it probably was better when the mob was running it. You might as well have left the mob in it, where it is now. When you sit there and watch a fight, and the announcers calling the fight, they have you thinking you're on the wrong channel. Because ain't nothing going on in the ring that they saying. And then when the fight ends, some of those scorecards, you know you was watching the wrong fight. So they made all this big thing about getting the mafia out of it, but the sport didn't get any better. They let the door open for the sanctioning bodies and everybody, you know? It was like going from bad to worse. Got the mafia out, then you let the sanctioning bodies and the promoters and the state commissions and all them people take over. Pick your poison. That's what it boiled down to. Pick your poison. And it's just as bad now. Just as bad as when the mafia was controlling it. I wasn't around then, but I read a lot about it, and this mess they do now is just as bad as what the mafia was doing. See the man up there on the screen? I better shut up. He might be in the mafia. The nonsense Mauricio be doing. Okay, yeah, Katie Taylor said this was going to be her last year, though, in boxing. Yeah, Croke Park, she wants her last fight to be in Ireland, where she's from. I don't know how many fights she's going to plan on fighting this year, but she said this year is it for her. And she hasn't decided on an opponent or anything. She needs to fight Chantel Cameron again, because they still 1-1. And each other's only loss. I think Chantel still only lost one. But both of their fights were majority decisions. Razor thin. One judge had a draw in both fights. They were back-to-back fights. They had trilogy written all over it. Then they just went in different directions. That was like 3 years ago. And that would have sold. You know, Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor. That would be a very attractive last fight. Or fight Amanda for the 4th time. Right? Then if Amanda win, Katie got to have one more fight then. She'd be like, I beat you 3 times. I can't let you have the last win. Right? But I'd rather see Chantel Cameron because they won 2 great fights. 2 great battles them 2 women had. 2 of the greatest women fights of all time. Both majority decisions. I think Chantel, I know Katie still got one loss. I think they each other's only lost too. And then they didn't have the trilogy. First two was back to back. They should have had the trilogy right away. I couldn't understand that. Jake Paul wasn't as deep in women's boxing then as he is now. If Jake would have been in it like he is now, they would have had that trilogy. Because Jake would have seen the financial incentive of that and threw that money at him. Yeah, they would have had that. But yeah, Katie said she's getting up out of there this year. She's had a great career. I thought Amanda won the first fight though, but you know, hey, it was a close fight. They had 3 minutes. Amanda was getting ready to get her out of there in the fifth round. Katie was done, and then the bell rang and saved her. Yup. Amanda had her ready to go. And the first one in the garden, yeah. And Amanda is the most powerful woman of all time. She got like 30-something knockouts or something like that. You don't get that too much for women. And Savannah Marshall, Ann Wolfe, Layla had power, but you know, yeah. And you might get more women's knockouts if they had 3 minutes too. That might make a difference. But you know, you got 2 minutes. You come out there in the first minute where the men got the middle round, and then you can just get ready and bring it home in the third minute. But the women just got the first minute, and then the second minute, that's the last minute. You're coming downhill in the second minute. It's just change your whole strategy around. I think they should give them 3 minutes. Yeah. Amanda wanted this third fight with Katie to be 3 minutes, but I don't think Katie wanted it. Because Katie remembered that fifth round in that first fight. If that had been 3 minutes, she'd have been out of there. Katie said, Amanda might get me in another round like that. So no, they went 2. But Jake Paul was giving women 3 minutes rounds. And then Amanda had a couple of 12-round championship fights with 3 minutes. And he even had a prospect fight on one card. It was like 4 rounds, but it was 4 3-minute rounds. Yep. And now Jake got that deal with ESPN. MVP is the place to be for women boxing now. Yeah. ESPN got him. So they get ready to get visible. So, yeah. The women need to go on down there with Jake Paul. Yeah, they just got that deal with ESPN, remember? They're going to be showing them. So that's good. But yeah, tomorrow we are going to talk about Anthony Joshua. Life and career of Anthony Joshua. Last week was the first Friday of the month, but we had to do the fight of the century because last weekend was the 55th anniversary of it. Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali. Last Sunday, March 8th, 1971. 55 years since that iconic fight happened. Most iconic fight of all time. Ain't no more iconic fight than that. Nobody's ever fought. And their 2 daughters fought to celebrate the 33rd anniversary. Nobody, bar none. Don't get no more iconic than that. Your children fight. Nobody's sons even fought to celebrate their anniversary. Them men's daughters fought on the 30th anniversary, March 8th, 1971. Ali Frazier fought. George Foreman's daughter fought too, was a fighter too. I don't think she ever fought later Ali or Jackie Frazier, lied though. But yeah, and there's something, all 3 of them men's daughters were fighters. Archie Moore's daughter was a fighter too. Yep, sure was. It must be in the genes. And Layla came in there. When she started, she was known as Muhammad Ali's daughter, but when she finished, she was known as Layla Ali. 24-0, 21 by knockout, 87% knockout ratio. That's got to be the record for women's boxing, 87%. I ain't never checked, but it's got to be. You know, almost 90% knockout ratio for a woman. That is fantastic. But Don't miss Anthony Joshua tomorrow. And I appreciate everybody that stopped through today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We talked about various subjects. Will there ever be another golden era? There probably will be, eventually. Everything goes in circles, you know. I don't think we'll ever match them great heavyweights of the 70s, though. Get that many great heavyweights in one decade again. I can't see that happening, you know. Everybody, when you think of the 70s, you think about Ali and Frazier and Foreman Norton Holmes, but you had Oscar Bonavena, Jerry Quarry, Ernie Shavers, Ron Lau. None of them ever won a title because they were just in the wrong era. In the other era, all four of them would have been champions. Okay? George Chuvalo, Joe Bugner, Henry Cooper. Henry Cooper dropped Ali, had Ali beat. And then Ali was hurt bad and got over there and snatched his glove off and had Angelo Dundee take it to the locker room like it was something wrong with it to get another one to buy him time to recover. Because with that regular 1 minute between rounds that came back out there, he might not have recovered, and Henry Cooper might have got him up out of there. Yeah. Yeah, Henry Cooper was from that era. Ernie Terrell, Cleveland Williams, the Big Bear. Well, he was late 60s, but close. The Big Bear, Jimmy Ellis. He was also trained by Angelo Dundee. Just a decade for Gentleman Jerry Cooney. All these heavyweights was in one decade. I don't think it'll ever be another decade like that for heavyweights. No way. But we will have another golden era as far as throughout boxing in all the weight classes, yeah. And then we got to the 90s. The 90s came close. They had some great heavyweights too. Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Tyson. George Foreman came back. Donovan Razor Ruddock, Andrew Galata, Ray Mercer, Tommy Morrison. Tommy Morrison disappointed. He had talent, man, but he just, I don't know what happened to Tommy. He just did not pan out to the talent he had. They thought he was going to be a great superstar heavyweight. He had skills, man, but he just, he got knocked out badly by Ray Mercer early in his career. That might have affected him. He might not have never been this. You know how you get that bad knockout early in your career? Yeah, it was a vicious knockout. And it don't seem like he ever recovered from that. But yeah, still was a pretty good heavyweight though in the 90s. Oliver McCall, he was pretty good. Oliver knocked Lennox Lewis out, remember? Then in the second fight, Oliver was what was in the fight, and he burst out crying in the third round and wouldn't fight no more, so the referee had to stop it. It was weird, man. He came out, and then this real tears started rolling down his face in the middle of the fight. Like, what's wrong with him? And wouldn't fight, and the referee said, that's it, man. Y'all come out here and get your boy. Get your boy, man. He's crying. And they came out there and guided him back between them, looking at him. I think one of his trainers was his brother or something. They was like, what the hell's wrong with you? But yeah, he was a pretty good heavyweight. He was champion, knocked Lennox Lewis out. Ex-Lennox, how good Oliver McCall was. But he was never anything after that incident there. He had some kind of mental issues. But he fought up into his 50s. I think he had a fight in the 2020s. Oliver McCall, like 2-3 years ago. In his 50s. Okay. But don't miss Anthony Joshua tomorrow. I appreciate everybody. We'll be back tomorrow at 2. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all of that boxing history. Appreciate y'all 1,000,000%. Mike Masick, Al Booger, Mike Rim, Technique, BBO Sports TV, Miss Cass. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great afternoon. Mauricio, get off of my screen.